There are moments in meteorology, rare, once-in-a-decade moments, when the atmosphere assembles itself into a configuration so precise, so violently perfect, that every forecaster in every weather center across the globe stops what they are doing, leans forward in their chair, and stares at their screen in silence. Not because they are confused, because they recognize exactly what they are looking at, and they understand exactly what it means. I have been studying weather patterns professionally for years. I have sat through hundreds of significant storm events. I have tracked outbreaks, blizzards, ice storms, and cyclones across multiple continents. And I'm telling you right now, with complete and total seriousness, with zero exaggeration whatsoever, that what the atmosphere is constructing at this very moment is one of those patterns. What is setting up across multiple regions of the Northern Hemisphere over the coming days is not a typical storm system. It is not a run-of-the-mill severe weather outbreak. It is a meteorologically historic event with the genuine potential to shatter records simultaneously across different parts of the globe, and every single person watching this forecast needs to understand what that means before it arrives. Let me start with the science, because the science is extraordinary, and understanding it will help you appreciate why the meteorological community is paying such intense attention to this particular setup. When we talk about significant weather events, we are usually talking about one dominant atmospheric feature doing the heavy lifting: a deep trough, or a powerful pressure gradient, a strong jet stream anomaly driving a single system toward a specific region. What makes this pattern genuinely historic is that we are not dealing with one dominant feature. We are dealing with four simultaneous, mutually reinforcing atmospheric anomalies that are all converging at exactly the same time across the Northern Hemisphere. And the combined energy from all four of those features arriving together is something the historical record shows happening at this scale perhaps once every 15 to 20 years. The first anomaly is a blocking ridge of exceptional amplitude that has parked itself over the North Atlantic and refused to move for the past 11 days. Blocking ridges are not unusual. Blocking ridges that hold their position for 11 days while simultaneously achieving pressure anomalies of +4 standard deviations above normal for this time of year, that is another matter entirely. What this block has been doing for over a week is forcing the polar jet stream to buckle violently southward over both North America and Europe simultaneously, splitting the circulation into two deeply anomalous branches and allowing frigid Arctic air masses to penetrate far deeper into the mid-latitudes than they have any business being in the current season. The cold air that has been building beneath the southern branch of this buckled jet is exceptional, temperatures running 25 to 35 degrees below normal at the surface, sitting over enormous geographic areas, and providing the thermal contrast that is the raw fuel for catastrophic storm development. The second anomaly is the moisture content of the atmosphere across the subtropics, which has been running at levels that frankly defy seasonal expectation. Sea surface temperatures across the Gulf of Mexico, the Caribbean, and the subtropical Atlantic are currently running 1 to 2 degrees Celsius above the already elevated baselines established over the past several years. That sounds like a small number. It is not a small number. That temperature excess translates directly into precipitable water values in the overlying atmosphere that are running 30 to 40% above normal, and when that moisture-laden subtropical air collides with the anomalously cold polar air being delivered by the buckled jet stream, the thermodynamic contrast available to drive severe convection is reaching into the 98th and 99th percentile of all similar setups in the historical record. The atmosphere has loaded the gun. What we are now watching is the trigger mechanism arriving. The third anomaly is the upper-level jet stream itself, which has accelerated to speeds that are among the most extreme ever recorded for this time of year across the central latitudes. Wind speeds at the 200 millibar level, roughly 40,000 feet above the surface, are exceeding 160 miles per hour along the primary jet axis. Those speeds are not merely fast. At those speeds, the divergence aloft that drives surface low-pressure development and the atmospheric lift that ignites severe weather becomes explosive. Meteorologists use a value called the entrance region jet streak, the area on the left side of a jet maximum where divergence is greatest, to identify where the most violent storm development will occur. Right now, that entrance region is positioned almost perfectly over one of the most populated corridors in the Northern Hemisphere, and it is going to remain there for the next 36 to 48 hours. The fourth anomaly, and this is the feature that elevates this event from significant to potentially historic, is the phase relationship between the Northern Hemisphere's two dominant storm tracks. Roughly every 15 to 20 years, the Atlantic and Pacific storm tracks come into a constructive interference pattern where systems on both tracks amplify each other, rather than competing. We are entering one of those periods right now. The energy from a deepening Pacific low is going to phase with the energy of a rapidly developing Atlantic system within the next 48 hours. And the combined atmospheric response is going to produce a pressure gradient and wind field event that has the potential to break records that have stood for decades across multiple countries simultaneously. This is the pattern. This is why we are here. And I need to now walk you through exactly what all of this means for real communities on the ground. Let us start in North America, because the blizzard component of this event across the northern tier of the continent is breathtaking in its severity. As the Arctic air mass surges southward ahead of the main system over the next 24 hours, temperatures across the northern plains and Great Lakes region are going to drop to levels that would be extreme in January, let alone this point in the calendar year. At the same time, the approaching storm is going to pull enormous amounts of moisture into this Arctic air mass and produce snowfall rates that I can only describe as staggering. The model guidance I have been analyzing over the past 72 hours has been almost shockingly consistent in showing a corridor of snowfall accumulation across northern Minnesota, the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, and into northern Wisconsin, where storm total snowfall could reach 3 feet or more. In some of the most favored bands, 4 feet of snow before this event ends is within the range of possibility. I want to make sure you understand what 4 feet of snow means in a real community, because it is easy to hear a large number and not fully process its meaning. 4 feet of snow collapses roofs. It buries vehicles to their windows. It renders roads impassable, not for hours, but for days after the storm ends, even with aggressive plowing. It brings down power lines under the catastrophic weight of ice and snow on trees and infrastructure. And power restoration in those conditions is measured not in hours, but in days and sometimes weeks. Emergency services cannot operate normally. Supply chains break down. Communities become isolated. 4 feet of snow is not a winter storm. It is a humanitarian emergency. And if you live in the favored snow corridor across the upper Midwest and Great Lakes, I'm asking you to treat this forecast with the same seriousness you would give a mandatory evacuation order, because the data is telling me the potential is there. Wind is going to make this blizzard dramatically more dangerous than snowfall totals alone would suggest. Sustained winds of 45 to 55 miles per hour are expected throughout the duration of this event across the northern plains, with gusts capable of reaching 70 to 75 miles per hour during peak intensity. Those winds combined with heavy, dense snowfall are going to produce ground blizzard conditions where existing snow on the surface gets picked up and driven horizontally, creating complete and sustained whiteout conditions across enormous areas. There will be periods during this storm where visibility drops to zero, not near zero, not limited, but absolute zero for extended durations. Blizzard warnings and extreme cold warnings are going to be expanding significantly over the next 12 to 18 hours as the forecast firms up. If you are in this zone, please make your preparations now. Fuel your generator, stock your food and water, and make the decision right now that you will not attempt to drive during this storm. No destination justifies the risk. Moving into the severe weather component of this event, I need you to understand that the tornado threat embedded within this pattern is among the most serious I have communicated in my time as a forecaster. The atmospheric indices I am seeing across the central United States and into the Mid-South, the Cape values, the wind shear profiles, the storm relative helicity, are not just elevated. They are in the tail end of the historical distribution for any time of year, let alone the current season. The combination of extreme instability from that exceptionally moisture-laden Gulf air and extreme directional and speed shear from the 160 mile per hour jet stream overhead is producing an environment that ranks in the 99th percentile of all severe weather setups on record. What that means practically is that supercell thunderstorms developing in this environment are going to be capable of maintaining violent, persistent rotation for hours at a time. These are not brief spin-ups. These are long-track supercells, capable of producing tornadoes that stay on the ground for tens of miles, and the wind speeds within those tornadoes, supported by the exceptional shear values in this environment, have the potential to reach the highest end of the intensity scale. If you are in the threat zone across Oklahoma, Kansas, Missouri, Arkansas, and into western Tennessee and Kentucky today and tomorrow, I want you to have a shelter plan, and I want you to have it right now. I want you to identify the lowest interior room in the most structurally sound building available to you. I want you to make sure your phone is charged and your emergency alerts are turned on. And I want you to know that if sirens go off in your area, you go to that shelter immediately and without hesitation, regardless of whether you can see a tornado or not. The hail threat associated with the strongest supercells in this environment deserves its own discussion, because the hail potential here is extreme in the most literal sense of that word. The combination of exceptional instability and very cold temperatures at the tops of these thunderstorms is going to allow hailstones to grow to sizes that very rarely occur. In the strongest supercells, hail exceeding 4 inches in diameter is a genuine possibility across portions of central Oklahoma and southern Kansas. Hail of that size larger than a softball, falls at terminal velocities approaching 100 miles per hour. It destroys vehicles. It shatters windows. It strips siding from homes. Anyone caught outside when that hail arrives has a life-threatening situation. If a severe thunderstorm warning or tornado warning is issued for your area, do not go outside for any reason until the warning has been canceled and you have confirmed the storm has passed. Across the Atlantic, this event is simultaneously producing one of the most powerful extratropical cyclones to affect Western Europe in years. The phasing event I described earlier is going to result in a rapidly deepening low that, by the time it reaches the British Isles and the Iberian Peninsula, will carry central pressure values in the sub-950 millibar range, levels typically associated with mature tropical cyclones. The wind threat across Ireland, the United Kingdom, France, Spain, and Portugal from this system is historic. Forecast gusts along exposed western coastlines and elevated terrain are reaching 110 to 130 kilometers per hour, with some exposed promontories potentially seeing gusts exceeding 150 kilometers per hour. Those are not simply damaging winds. Those are winds capable of structural damage, catastrophic tree falls, widespread and long-duration power outages, and life-threatening conditions for anyone outdoors. The rainfall accompanying this European system is going to compound the wind impacts significantly. Precipitable water values ahead of the approaching frontal system are already running well above normal. And as the deep low tracks across the region, rainfall totals of 100 to 150 millimeters over 24 to 36 hours are expected across portions of northwestern Iberia, western France, and the western British Isles. Over saturated ground following a notably wet preceding period, that rainfall is going to produce flooding that goes well beyond typical flash flooding. River flooding, ground flooding, and urban flooding across low-lying areas of these countries should be considered highly likely, and residents in flood-prone areas of Galicia, Brittany, Wales, and Western Scotland need to be making their preparations right now, not tomorrow. I need to take a moment to talk about something that this kind of event makes critically important, because the overnight timing of several of the most dangerous elements of this pattern creates a specific and deadly hazard that I want every person watching this forecast to understand. Research on tornado fatalities, consistently and without exception, shows that tornadoes occurring between midnight and 6 in the morning kill dramatically more people relative to their intensity than tornadoes that occur during daylight hours. The reason is as simple and tragic as it sounds. People are asleep. The warning sounds but does not reach them. They do not shelter, and they do not survive storms that people who were awake and prepared would have survived. This is why the notification system you rely on during overnight severe weather events is not a minor detail. It is the most consequential preparation decision you make. This is exactly why I personally use and recommend Max Alert, a service that bypasses phone notification limitations and delivers a direct voice call to your phone the moment a tornado warning polygon covers your exact location. Not a push notification that can be suppressed by Do Not Disturb settings, a phone call. One that keeps ringing until you answer it and wake up. With overnight tornadoes a genuine threat embedded in this pattern across the Mid-South states, having Max Alert active on your phone before tonight is not optional preparation for the serious weather watcher. It is basic, fundamental, non-negotiable protection for you and your family. The link is in the description below this video. Setup takes less than 2 minutes and coverage is $14.95 for an entire year. Please set it up before you continue watching. I will wait. As this historic system progresses eastward through the latter portion of this week, the severe weather threat does not diminish. It shifts. The same moisture and the same dynamics that are driving the outbreak across the plains today are going to be in place across the Tennessee Valley and the Deep South by tomorrow, and across the southeastern Atlantic coast states by the day after. This is not a system where the danger ends once it passes to your west. This is a system that demands sustained vigilance from every community in its path until the cold front has completely swept through and the atmosphere has stabilized definitively behind it. I will be tracking every phase of this event in real time, and I will be on this channel continuously until it is over. I want to close by saying something that I mean with complete sincerity every single time I give a forecast like this one, but which feels especially important given the scale of what is coming. Behind every wind gust value, every snowfall total, every tornado probability percentage, in this forecast, there are real people. There are families and homes right now who have not yet heard this forecast. There are communities in the path of this storm that still have time to prepare. But that window is closing. There are individuals who are going to make decisions in the next few hours about whether to travel, whether to shelter in place, whether to take this seriously or dismiss it as another overblown weather warning. And those decisions will have real consequences that cannot be undone once the storm arrives. That is the reality of historic weather events. That is why accurate, detailed, honest forecasting matters. That is why I make these videos, not for the views, not for the algorithm, to make sure the information reaches the people who need it while there is still time to act on it. Please share this forecast right now. Send it to your family across every affected region. Post it in your neighborhood groups and community forums. Text it to the people in your life who do not follow weather closely, but who live directly in the path of what is coming. Because this pattern is rare, the impacts are going to be historic, and the single greatest protection any individual or community has against an event like this is advanced knowledge and serious, immediate preparation. Subscribe to this channel right now and hit the bell icon for all notifications. I will be live throughout this entire event, from the first tornado-warned supercell tonight through the final squalls clearing the European coast at the end of the week. I will not leave you without coverage for a single phase of this storm. Stay safe, stay prepared, and I will see you in the live stream.